We took our kids to this big mesh-covered place filled with butterflies, you know. As we're walking in, this worker goes, "I'll be happy to answer all your butterfly questions today." Okay. All of them? I was thinking, could there be a less stressful job than working in a butterfly pavilion? I mean, you know, what could possibly go awry, you know? "So how was work, dear?" "Don't even get me started. I've had it up to here with those butterflies. I had this yellow one landing lightly on flowers, and this purple one fluttering around and around. Like, I don't know what he's up to. I can't take the politics."
Is this song a bit of irony for the morning? We're walking
on sunshine. Yeah. I was saying the other day when we played it that this was used in the movie American Psycho with Christian Bale. I don't know if you saw that movie. He's a murderer, and he just murdered somebody who comes out into the street, looks up at the sky, and start playing this song to juxtapose what he just did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mayor Cory Mason is here. Racine Mayor Cory Mason. Thanks for schlepping through the snow today. I appreciate it. How bad is it outside?
Yeah, it's slippery. It's slippery. So the schools are closed. I started on the north side close to the lake, and it was rain there. But by the time you got to, I think about West Boulevard, it started turning to snow. So it's definitely a snow and rain slushy mix. So be careful out there. Take your time.
Be honest now. When you were a kid and you heard, generally on the radio, because that's where they announced them, that your schools were closed, you tell me you didn't go, yes!
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Get dressed, go outside and play in the snow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it's like a surprise holiday that you suddenly get, right? So I have 3 kids right now. They're thrilled that they get to. Now they're still in bed. They rolled over and said, "Oh, great!" But yeah, I suspect they'll be outside making snowballs and snowmen and having a grand old time.
And we used to gather around the radio in my house on a snowy day, a snowy morning. Get up at 6 o'clock, 5:30, and I remember Dave Vieser was the announcer on the radio, and he's a good friend of mine today because I worked with him there years later, and we still communicate. And he used to get on and he said, "Massapequa School District number 23 closed." Yes! And my brother and I immediately got dressed, went outside in the snow. But they mainly do it for school buses.
They do.
It's not meant that, you can't walk to school in the morning.
Yeah.
It's that you...
Well, and to keep the roads clear, right? I mean, shout out to all the DPW workers that are going to be out there today laying salt and plowing the streets. I mean, it's an important job that they do. But yeah, it's, if you don't need that many extra people on the streets, and it's safer to make it easier to clear the streets, it makes sense to do that.
Our meteorologist we used to have here, Elliot Abrams, never understood why when people hear it's going to snow, they run out and get milk, eggs, butter. They start stocking up on this. Tomorrow, the streets are going to be clear. The sun's going to be out. What are you doing? Why do you stock up on? I could see if there's a hurricane coming. And my daughter always says to me, she lives in Florida now. She lived in Wisconsin all her life. And she said, I see you getting snow. I said, at least when it snows, it doesn't blow the roof off my house like in Florida.
That's right.
I just shovel it and it's all done. It always ceases to amaze me why people say, oh, it's going to snow. How long have you lived here?
Right.
It's going to snow eventually.
Yeah.
Not like Groundhog Day where we get 2 feet of snow.
It is, but I think, it's been a pretty mild winter so far. And even though we're all in Wisconsin and we should know better, people sort of get used to it. It's like the first, couple days where it gets really, really cold. You sort of forget what it's like to be cold. So when you go into it, you're like, oh, it's so cold. But by February, if it's 40 degrees out, you're like, it's a heat wave. This is amazing, right? I think we sort of learn all over every season. And we haven't really had a lot of big snow this year.
No.
So even though we're experienced here in Wisconsin and Racine, and we know what it's like to get through a snowstorm, we haven't really had a big one yet this season. So just a reminder, everybody, be careful out there. Take your time.
Now, Monday is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, MLK holiday. And I pass it every day when I come to work, there's a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. area right there on State Street.
The statue there.
The statue. And they put a wreath there and you're going to be there, right?
Yeah, that's today.
Is it today they're going to do it?
It's today. I will tell you, we usually have school groups and others coming. So when we're done here, we're going to sort of huddle up and figure out what we're going to do since the schools are closed. I don't know if they're going to postpone the event or do it later, and we're going to sort of evaluate what the weather is like. But yeah, we usually have school groups come. We'll have a choir sing, and Julian Thomas is just across the street there, and so we'll have students come over and try to interact that way. So we're gonna call an audible here later this morning to figure out if it's still going to proceed, but hopefully it goes forward as planned.
Yeah, it's when you make plans in the winter.
Yeah.
You're always taking even in the summer, you take a risk it's going to rain, have a thunderstorm. But anytime outdoor stuff happens, and I know we've been involved in so many outdoor activities here over the years, you take a chance. But it's anywhere in America. People say, "Well, I think I'll move out west where it doesn't snow." Well, good, they got earthquakes out there.
Right.
I think I'll go to Hawaii. Well, great, they got volcanoes.
Yeah.
I think I'll go down south. Well, they got tornadoes and floods. I mean, there's no place you can go in America and get away from. If there was a place you can go where there was no serious weather problem, everybody would live there.
Right.
But there is no place.
Yeah, well, and I'd take our occasional snowstorm over hurricanes and
earthquakes and volcanoes.
Yeah, absolutely.
When that lava flow is coming toward your house, I mean, you can't get the hose out and then move it out of the way.
That's right.
All right, so today, and what time is it's supposed to be at what time?
It's supposed to be at 11. So it's right there between MLK and Marquette.
Yeah, I know.
Off of State Street there at the MLK Plaza. So currently that's what the plan is, although people should stay posted. Again, it's still relatively early in the morning, but with the schools closing, half the program's likely not going to be there. So we've got to make a decision on how we're going to proceed.
We lost a real booster for Milwaukee a few weeks ago. A real booster. And I got to meet him, and I'll tell you my story in a minute. Senator Herb Kohl.
Yeah.
He's given so much to Wisconsin. Forget about Northridge, Southridge malls, Kohl's Food Store, Kohl's department stores. He's given so much to charity. But when the Bucks were going to leave Milwaukee,
he came in and
he stepped in and said, they're not leaving.
Yeah.
Now, he also helped Bud Selig bring the Seattle Pilots to Milwaukee. When the Braves moved to Atlanta, the Milwaukee Braves, he brought the Seattle Pilots with Bud Selig, his good friend, to Milwaukee, and then we have the Brewers. Yeah. What a booster.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my wife actually worked for him in D.C. This is like 20 plus years ago now. But, not only a booster for Milwaukee, but a huge booster for the whole state, right? I mean, I went to UW-Madison, they put in the Kohl Center. It's a great facility the
Kohl Center. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I mean, you just go around the entire state. And, his foundation has continued to be a big booster for people who do education activities and other things. But, there's many things to admire about Herb Kohl. I was really honored during my first race for state assembly. He came in and, cut an ad for me right at the end and was real supportive of my efforts there. But he, had this great tagline that was just so true. He was nobody's senator but yours, right? And he, just really had a lot of integrity to him. And so even though he hasn't been in an elected office for a long time, his legacy continues to be felt throughout the state. And so he will be dearly missed.
What a nice, quiet man, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very quiet, very unassuming, not boisterous. I'm looking for a couple of pictures I had here. I don't know if I had one of him, but I have one of Senator Proxmire with my daughter. I'll find it in a minute. Anyway, here's what he did with us. We, when I worked for a radio station in Milwaukee, we had the tall ships, Miller Maritime Days in Milwaukee. And we had the Bounty for the movie Mutiny on the Bounty was there. And we were broadcasting from the ship, and we were raising money for Reading is Fundamental. And the senator stopped by. He had somebody with him. And we went on the air, and we talked about Reading is Fundamental. We talked about all this things that he did. And we took a break, and I saw him with his checkbook. I'm not thinking about it. And his friend came up and said, here's a check from the senator. Don't mention it on the air, though.
Wow.
He wrote a check for $500 on the spot.
Wow.
And said, don't mention it. And he just waved. He waved to me and left. I mean, if I wrote a check for $500, I'd take an ad out on Facebook and tell everybody I wrote a check for $500. But this is the type of person he was. Just take the money and don't say anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, Bill and Melinda Gates wrote a check for $1.2 billion. Oh, my.
Amazing.
How do you do that? How do you write a check for $1.2 billion and still pay your electric bills?
Yeah. No, well... it's a level of giving beyond. I mean, they're some of the richest people in the world, but I give them credit for giving away big chunks of their wealth to try to improve the world we live in. You know,
I said to you before you went on the air, you have a very calm demeanor about you, and I've seen you at in press conferences and so forth, and in front of the older people here. Alders, they call them now.
Yes,
alders. We say we're the people, alder man, alder woman, just alders. You have such a calm demeanor. Doesn't this job stress you out as being mayor? It's a big responsibility.
It is. I mean, I think, particularly if there's a time of crisis, whether things that you're dealing with, I mean, I think part of leadership is providing some of that calm and just some consistent, like, hey, here's the information that you need. Here's what we're going to do next. Look, and there's a time and a place for all things, right? I mean, but I think if your default is to panic or to be angry, I don't know that always serves people. And then, when I chair the council meetings, I mean, it's just my job to chair those meetings, right? I'm just there to facilitate the conversation and move it along. I have different spaces where I can offer my opinions and tell people what I think. But really, it's just my job to facilitate those meetings and be a good public servant in that space and let the council do its work. Now, I will tell you that there are moments where on the inside, I'm maybe not as calm as
that
I appear to be.
That volcano in Hawaii is about to erupt.
But, I think that's part of leadership. I mean, you've got to convey to people that look, there might be some big things happening, but, freaking out about it or panicking about it isn't going to help. And you need to give people the information that they need, particularly in a moment of crisis, so that they can hopefully hear the information that they might need that might really impact their safety and their well-being.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility. Well, we're the third largest city in Wisconsin,
we're
right?
Fifth now.
Fifth now?
Fifth largest city. Yeah. So
Milwaukee, Madison,
Green Bay, and then Kenosha.
Really? Kenosha's bigger than Racine now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's not a big responsibility for you. No, only kidding. We have something we want to talk about after the break here.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about the letter from the alders.
Yeah.
I can't get used to that phrase, alders. It's going to take a while to get used to that. Mayor Cory Mason is here this morning, and he schlepped through the snow to get here. I do appreciate that, by the way. I really do.
Happy to be here.
It's 7:19 at WRJN Radio. Hometown Radio refreshed, the civic media station. Stay right where you are. Rosen at 7:20. Racine Mayor Cory Mason is here. And this is from Stuart J. Waddles, our news director, wanted me to ask you about the letter from Racine alders to the mayor, addressing concerns about the downtown hospitality center's impact on the community and emphasizing the need for its relocation. Alderperson Terry McCarthy has 9 other alders signing on to the letter, highlighting how they think the center's original mission to serve hungry Racine residents has attracted a broader audience, leading to negative consequences. Those include increased public alcohol consumption, business closures, and safety concerns for Gateway students and library patrons. The letter urged action to address these issues and calls for the center's relocation to a site less detrimental to the downtown community. And your response?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big issue. It's been an issue for a time. I will say the issues around homelessness in and around the hospitality center in recent months have actually they've become more acute and more frequent, right? So it's a challenge that we have. Now, I will say, as we're going into some really cold weather, I'm not in favor of eliminating homeless services. I mean, it's going to be really cold in the weeks ahead, and we've got to deal with it. I think the question is there some place where we can improve services and have fewer tension points in the downtown? Just this week, actually, Wingspread held a conversation with folks from the county and other funders and nonprofits, really to look at the homeless services that we're providing here, whether it's the hospitality center or Halo. And our hope is that by bringing all those actors together and funders together, we can begin to imagine, how do we do this differently? How do we do this in a way where there's not so many tension points in the downtown, and maybe even improves the services for the people who need those services? But it is a complex issue. It is not an easy thing where you can just say, well, just move over here, or just do this now, or don't do this now. And so, but again, in the downtown, whether it's Gateway or the library or McMinn Tower or some of these other things, we are seeing more and more issues. We do get more and more police calls. So it's become a real issue, and we have to address it, and we have to address it together. And we have to do it with the nonprofits that are providing the services. We can't just sort of say, look, you're done tomorrow. We've got to figure out a way to improve the services, and again, begin to ponder the question, well, where else could this occur? Is there a way that we could do it where there's not so many tension points in the downtown, and maybe even improve the services for the people who need it most?
Homeless people, I wouldn't want to be one of them. It's a horrible situation to be in.
Yeah.
There was a story I read. I don't think I read it today. I read it somewhere. I have it in my list here of things to get to. A woman was homeless with her son in a car, and all she did was ask people, where can I park my car safely at night so we can sleep in peace?
Yeah.
Isn't that sad? Where can I park my car so my son and I can sleep in peace?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of homelessness, right? There was people like the woman you're talking about who, like, with some housing security and maybe a housing voucher. If you could get her into a place, she might get the security she needs. We've also got people who have severe mental health issues, or alcohol and other drug abuse problems that play into their homelessness. And those are folks that have maybe needs that are a little bit higher than other folks, and those folks are harder to address in a way that's safe for them and safe for the community. So we take it very seriously. I mean, there's a lot of really exciting things happening in the downtown, whether it's that Hotel Verdant open, whether it's the breakwater that's getting built with those new apartments at the end of Lake there. But we need to make sure it's a safe place for residents and patrons when they come to the downtown. And, we need to figure out, is there a better and safer way that we can provide services to people who need it? I'm not saying it's easy to thread that needle to do both, but I am encouraged and grateful that Wingspread pulled a group of people together this week to just talk it out. How are we going to do this? How can we improve this? What are the challenges? What are the needs? And can we do a better job of providing these services?
We don't have this problem like New York and other larger cities have, where they're bussing in people crossing the border from South America.
We don't have that, but we do have people who are not from here who come here to use our homeless services, more than you would think, right?
Really?
So, yeah. So, I mean, we're one of the few communities that has what's called a low barrier shelter, or a wet shelter, where you don't have to be sober to be in the shelter. And there's, I think, not a lot of other shelters in Southeast Wisconsin or Northeast Illinois that have those services. So we wind up with people who've, when they come here for homeless services, that it may be the first time they've ever been in our community. So that's an issue that we've got to suss out a little bit as well, is how much are we responsible regionally for some of these homeless issues. But we do have people who are, recently homeless for some economic reason, but we also have people who come from other communities to make use of our services.
I watch these buses come into Washington, D.C. and coming into New York City, and I understand Texas and these border states can't take everybody. Right. It's not feasible. What I don't like is when they send the buses to drop off at a congressman's doorstep. Yeah. I think that's wrong, because these are human beings you're talking about with families, and you're dropping them off on a residential street. Where do you want them to go?
Yeah. Well, and often they're just told, get on the bus, it'll be taken care of. And so they're on a bus for, 10, 20 hours, and they get there thinking.
But to send them to a congressman's doorstep or a judge's doorstep, what are these people going to do? These are children. These are human beings we're talking about. These aren't faceless, nameless. Well, to some of these people, they are faceless and nameless. Yeah. But they're all human beings. They want a better life.
No, look, it's the immigrant story that we've had throughout this country's history, right? People come here from foreign shores or other parts of the country or the world hoping for a better life, looking for a good family sporting job and a shot at the American dream. I mean, that's been our story, for more than 200 years. We seem to get amnesia about it every once in a while. We sort of forget that
everybody here except the Native Americans are immigrants.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So anytime you have something negative to say about people coming into this country, remember, someone in your family tree
absolutely
came into this country probably through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
My relatives did. They came from Poland and Hungary, and that's where they came from.
No, same here.
Everybody came in from somewhere, unless you're a Native American, and then you were here
long before
us. Wow.
But I will say, the immigrant story, too, is we also hear over and over again, employers are looking for workers, right? We can't find enough workers. Where are we going to get the workers?
Yeah, and that's another thing. How did that happen? Before COVID, everybody was working. After COVID, nobody wants a job. How did these people? Didn't they have to go back to work after COVID?
I think. Well, we're at the lowest unemployment rate we've had in a long time, particularly in the city and in the state. And I think the numbers across the country are actually pretty good. People are going back to work. It's actually sort of if you're an employee and you're looking for a job, you've got a lot of options out there right now. There are a lot of employers still looking for work. I know even for the city, we're looking for people, we're CDL drivers who want to go into law enforcement, but it's a stretch for everybody looking for workers right now, whether it's in the construction trades or the public sector or the private sector. So it's a good time if you're looking for work.
Always looking for work.
Yeah.
In radio. we always need work. Yeah. I've been very fortunate in my life that I've always been able to find work in this business, but a lot of people can't.
Yeah.
And they don't have the skills, or for some reason they just can't find it. Mayor Cory Mason, thanks for coming in. Are you going to hang in for a few minutes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say we are coming up on the Martin Luther King holiday, and I do want to just acknowledge his legacy in terms of what he's done in this country to get us to think about being a more equal and fair and just society. His legacy still rings as loudly today as it did 50 years ago. So we're honored to celebrate that, whether it's today or on Monday. Really important part of our history.
Give it some thought.
Yeah.
Give it some thought. It's not just a day off.
That's right.
7:29, we're talking movies with Bret Hoffmann from Marcus Theaters in just a moment. Hang in here. It's 7:35 at WRJN Radio. Mayor Cory Mason hanging in here while we talk movies with Bret Hoffmann of Marcus Theaters. And good morning, Bret. How are you?
Good morning, Don. Doing great.
Now, how's the snow by you?
It's coming down right now, but it still will be a great weekend, a great MLK weekend at the movies.
All right. We got 4 new movies opening up this weekend, including one that won the Academy Award back in 2021. It's finally making its way to the big screen.
That's exactly right.
So let's talk about them.
Well, the biggest one is Mean Girls. It's rated PG-13. Since the release of this original movie in 2004, the movie has earned a lot of fans, and this is a musical version that's coming to the big screen. It is getting great reviews from critics, also great reviews from audiences that saw early previews. You've got Tina Fey, Jenna Fisher, and John Hamm. They're all coming back as part of the faculty cast on the big screen, and this would be a great one to come see, a great comedy on the big screen, and that's Mean Girls.
Now, is this the musical, or is this based on the Broadway musical or not?
Yeah, this is written by Tina Fey, and it's based on that Broadway musical, so it's a musical version of the movie Mean Girls.
All right. What else you got?
The next one is The Beekeeper. This is an R-rated action movie. It stars Jason Statham and Jeremy Irons and Josh Hutcherson. Jason Statham is a beekeeper, and he's a former operative of a powerful and clandestine organization that takes matters into their own hands when the law has failed. And let me tell you, this one has got action all over it. It's got action throughout. If you know Jason Statham, if you follow his movies, you know what you're in for with this one. And this is also getting some positive critics ratings as well. So take a look at this one if you just want an action fix this weekend.
All right. Keep going.
We got a PG-13 movie called The Book of Clarence. This is a biblical comedy drama. It's a satire. It's about a man named Clarence living in 33 AD who tries to take advantage of the celebrity influence of the Messiah who is out at that time for his own personal gain. It's rated PG-13. It's also getting great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
But this one's an interesting one here coming out now.
Yeah, this one's very interesting, and this picture won Best Picture in 2000, was nominated for Best Picture in 2001, won Best Animated Picture in 2001, and has never been on the big screen.
You mean 21, right? 2021.
2021, yes.
Okay.
And has never been on the big screen. Disney has decided to bring it back. It's at the theaters this weekend. And it is Soul. This is a wonderful movie about a jazz pianist that suddenly finds himself between Earth and the afterlife. There are voices from Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey in this movie. And as you mentioned, it was nominated in 2021 for Best Picture, won for Best Animated Feature. And this is something that Disney is doing all throughout the next 3 months. They are going to be showing 3 different Disney movies that are coming out. So this is kind of a really interesting thing that's going on. Soul is going to be one of the movies that's coming out. The other movie that they're going to be putting out in February is Turning Red, and then Luca is going to be put out in March. These are 3 Pixar movies that never hit the big screen. So take a look for Soul this weekend, February Turning Red, and then Luca in March. It's a great opportunity to see these Pixar films on the big screen.
Mayor, did you ever see that? Or
I saw Soul when it first streamed. The kids really enjoyed it. It was really great. It reminded me a little bit of Inside Out in terms of the kind of animation, the kind of story. But it's a sweet story. I think kids and families would really enjoy it.
Have you seen any movies this year? Not this year, but like recently.
Yeah, recently. I mean, in the theaters. Yeah, I mean, so we have kids, right? So oftentimes, when we go see a movie, it's sort of what do the kids want to see. But they're teenagers. They still want to spend time with you. You take the chance that you can. But yeah, we've seen a couple good movies. A movie that I saw on Netflix that I really enjoyed is this Bradley Cooper Maestro movie that's streaming.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
That was a pretty impressive film. I was sort of amazed with how well he transformed into Leonard Bernstein there, and a story of his life that I certainly wasn't familiar with. So it was pretty incredible.
Also, I forgot. I was just listening to talk about something here. Have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon?
I have not.
Oh, you got to see that movie.
I hear it's amazing.
It is. It's long. Yeah. But it is good. Have we talked since the, I don't know, Brett, have we talked since the Golden Globes came out?
We haven't. And there were a few surprises and a few things that maybe are a prelude to what's coming up at the Academy Awards based on what happened.
It's funny. Paul Giamatti won for The Holdovers. And there's a picture online of him holding his Golden Globe, and he went to In-N-Out Burger in his tuxedo to get something after the awards ceremony. And there he is with his Golden Globe on the table, eating his hamburger at In-N-Out Burgers. Everybody else went to these major parties. He went to a burger joint. That's Paul Giamatti.
Good for him.
Yeah. What surprised you?
Well, I think what really surprised me is the fact that Poor Things won the comedy motion picture category, comic and musical motion picture. I mean, I thought that it would come close, and I thought Emma Stone was going to win for her performance in that movie. I was surprised that it beat out Barbie. But look for that maybe to be a surprise when we look for the Academy Awards. I think Poor Things is going to be nominated, and I think Emma Stone currently now is in the running for Best Actress as well. When they release the nominations next, 2 Tuesdays from now on the 23rd.
I was happy that Lily Gladstone won for Killers of the Flower Moon. First Indigenous actress ever to win an award like this prestigious award. She won for Best Actress, I guess, for Killers of the Flower Moon. She was fabulous in that role. You've seen her, right?
Yeah, I have, and you and I talked about that. She was the one that we both picked. I think she's the front runner for the Academy Award as well, and that was no surprise to us. And the other one that probably wasn't a surprise was Oppenheimer taking the awards that it did. It won Best Motion Picture Drama. Chris Nolan won for Best Director, and Cillian Murphy won for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama. So we thought that movie would do well. I still think it has a great chance to pick up more than a few awards, pick up a lot of nominations and more than a few awards when the Academy Awards release their nominations on the 23rd of January and then have the ceremony on March 10th.
Now, what about Barbie? Was that a big disappointment? They won an award, but it was a strange award they won. It was a brand new award for Best
Adapted Screenplay?
No, it wasn't even that. It was Best something brand new. Do you know the award I'm talking about? What was that, Brett?
That was a new award they put in this year. It was for cinematic and box office achievement. So that was the award that they gave away. They put in this year.
And they won for that. And I didn't know this at the time, but Margot Robbie, who played Barbie, was also the producer of the movie with her husband. I didn't know that. So that was kind of interesting. So she picked up the award as producer of the film. Who knew? Okay.
You know, it doesn't surprise me that Poor Things run over Barbie. However, because usually award shows don't go for the mainstream movie. However, when you looked at Barbie and what a phenomenon that was, and the combination of Barbie and Oppenheimer being Barbenheimer, I kind of thought Barbie would win more than just a cinematic and box office achievement award. I also thought Margot Robbie may have had a chance for actress as well. But we'll see. I think she's going to get nominated. I think Barbie will get nominated. And you never know what's going to happen with even the Academy of Votes on their awards coming up.
Now, I was never a big fan of the Golden Globes. Now, when the Academy Awards comes on, my house has to be completely quiet. I bring out a buffet of food in my living room to watch the Academy Awards. And I don't care if I have to get up at 4 a.m. I watch the entire thing. Do we know who's hosting this year? Is it Jimmy Kimmel, or did you hear?
Let's see. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, actually, Jimmy Kimmel is. So Jimmy Kimmel will be doing it this year.
You know what the hosts always say? You know how they have a lot of jokes at the beginning and they're very funny, having a good time. And as the show goes on, the host has less and less to do on stage. And this is the reason why. When you start off the show, everybody in that audience is hopeful. And as the evening goes on, it fills up with losers. Remember, for every winner you have 4 other losers. And the winners don't fill up a lot, but the losers are filling up. And they're not happy. Excuse me. They're not happy and they're not responsive to the comedy anymore. That's why they front load all the jokes and the monologues when they do the Academy Awards. Are you looking for Oppenheimer to win the most award nominations for the Academy Awards?
Yeah, I think Oppenheimer will have the most nominations just because the nature of the film it is. It probably will have a lot of the tech awards and also just mainly the awards overall. But as I said, I think Poor Things right now is definitely a darling for both actress and Best Picture. And, of course, look for Barbie to be in there as well. But Oppenheimer probably will take it for the most nominations that are coming out. A movie that I enjoyed a lot, a movie that you were just a little okay on. I don't think you were that warm on that. And Mayor, have you seen the movie?
The Mayor had to leave.
Oh, he had to leave. Okay.
Yeah, he only stayed for a minute or two here, he said, but he wanted to talk movies, but he has a Zoom meeting he has to get to. So he had to leave. I was going to say goodbye to him on the air, but you were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. Yeah, Oppenheimer, I told you the only thing I had a problem with was the music. And my wife and I, first of all, it was loud, and there was music throughout the entire 3 hours of that movie. They didn't stop with the music, and music is supposed to highlight things, not take over the whole movie. And that bothered me. But the movie was good, and Cillian Murphy was fabulous. You know, it's funny, when you hear these actors, like at the Golden Globes, they have these very thick accents. He's from Ireland, so he's got a very thick Irish accent. But when in his movies, you would never know it. Same thing with the guy who was in A Beautiful Mind. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, Russell Crowe, right?
Russell Crowe. Another guy with a thick accent. All these act, and when they're on screen, you never hear it. Same thing. Nicole Kidman has an Australian accent. You never hear it when they speak. I don't know how they pull that off. But anyway, so I'm looking for a fun night, and I might see a few of the movies between now and the awards because you guys, I don't know if you're doing it anymore. You used to run all the best pictures in a row. Remember, for 2 nights.
Oh, yeah, this is a great segue because we will be showing all of the Best Picture nominated movies from a period of time from the end of February through the awards weekend. So take a look out for that. Once the nominees are announced, you'll see a lot more information from Marcus Theaters on that. But we're going to have theaters that are going to be showing all of the Best Picture nominated films. They'll be showing that through several showtimes, different showtimes. They'll be available for about 17 days before and leading up to the Oscars. And then this year we're going to bring back to a few sites our Best Picture marathons, which is where we have 2 days, 2 Saturdays.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to show half of the Best Picture nominations one Saturday, the other half the other Saturday. And let me tell you, if you like movies and you like being around people that like talking movies, that is the place to be, because you could spend the whole day with people that love movies. And it is really interesting to go see and knock out all the nominations across 2 days, because you remember movies that you've seen but haven't seen them in a while. And there's probably a few that everyone has not seen yet that they can pick up on and make their own determination for what they think the Best Picture is.
And here it is. You know, when the nominations come out, they're up to 10, I think they can have now. I don't know how many they can have. They can have up to 10. And you're going to say, I never heard of those movies. Well, now you get a chance to see them, because, you know, many theaters don't play these. They play at art houses, or they just get a few runs in big cities because they're not big motion pictures that can bring in a lot of people. And now you get a chance to see them. And I've done this before where I've never heard of a movie. I said, well, let's go see it. It sounds good. And it was on one of those days where you were running all the Oscar-nominated movies for Best Picture. And you find a gem that you may not have known about. You know what one of them was? It won for Best Picture, Nomadland. Remember that movie?
Of course, I remember.
Now, there's a movie.
Yeah.
It didn't play big theaters around America, but it won for Best Picture, and I finally got a chance to see it. And I love that movie. It's one of my favorite films, Nomadland. So you do get to pick up on some movies that you may not have ever heard of before. And if you're a movie fan, you're going to be loaded in the theater with movie fans with a lot of opinions, because everybody's got an opinion on a movie. And you know me, when we talk to record for some other radio stations, we record our stuff on Mondays. We always talk. I always have an opinion a movie that just came out. All right. Hey, thanks a lot, my friend. I do appreciate you coming in on this Friday morning, and drive carefully out there and be safe. And everybody this weekend on the MLK holiday weekend, long weekend, go see a movie at the movie theaters, okay? Hey, Brett,
everyone have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett. Bye-bye now. All right, we're talking sports coming up in just a moment with Mike Clemens, 749 at WRJN Radio. Stay where you are. Talking to Mike Clemens on WRJN at 751. And you're sounding a lot better than you did in the last 2 weeks or so. How you feeling? Feeling a lot better?
Yeah, I am. It took about 4 or 5 days, but there is a flu bug that's going around with fever and coughing and all the other fun.
I know. My wife had it, and I managed to avoid it. I'm very lucky. Let's talk about that big game. This is now, I keep mentioning this because you mentioned the other day to me when we were talking off the air. 3 games the Packers have to win to get to the Super Bowl. This is game number 1 against the Cowboys this weekend out in Dallas. This is a big one.
Yeah, the wild card game. It's wild card weekend. These are teams that won the division, but the lower seeds, as they call them, there's a couple teams that have the weekend off. If you win that, then you go to the divisional playoffs. If you win that, then you go to either the NFC or AFC championship, and after that, you're going to Las Vegas to play in Super Bowl 58.
I know. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty here. And 3 games, that's all they have to play, and they're in the Super Bowl. Big thing happened yesterday. Bill Belichick very acrimoniously had a press conference with the Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, and after 24 years, said goodbye to the Patriots. I guess they agreed they needed a new direction, but it was very nice the way they shook hands and he said goodbye. But I don't think that's the end of Bill Belichick, though. Do you?
That's a good question because there's already offers out there. The Atlanta Falcons might be interested in him. They just fired their head coach after 3 seasons. And Belichick's got 6 NFL championships, and he ties George Halas, the founder of the Bears, and Curly Lambeau, the founder of the Packers. Whether or not I'll tell you what, though. Do you remember the Patriots actually came to Green Bay last summer during training camp for what they call joint practices before they had a preseason game? And they get into about the fourth quarter of this preseason game, and all of a sudden there's a play where a rookie defensive back named Isaiah Bolden collides with one of his own teammates helmet to helmet, and he goes down hard. And he's not getting up, and he's completely out. And they're very concerned. And, after that Bills player the year before, and they take him to the hospital. He woke up the next day. He ended up going on injured reserve for the rest of the season. He never played again. He's okay. But I was in this press conference where Belichick, he came out to the middle of the field, and he talked to Matt LaFleur and said, 2 days of practices, 3.5 quarters a game. Let's just call the game. And watching Belichick, being in the room with him, he's 71, 72. I just thought, you must be getting tired of this. It's just, too much drama for, 40, 50 years of coaching. And, he kind of looked burned out then. And then they had a horrible losing season. They never really got a quarterback to replace Tom Brady. And they need a new general manager to fill the roster first before they get a coach. And so that's what the Kraft family decided, and it was time for Bill to move on.
The New York papers were not kind to Bill Belichick overnight because, he was with the Jets, and they put a nasty headline on there. I forget what it was. I saw it this morning when I was before I came in, and it wasn't nice. I mean,
a New York paper with a sensational, mean headline?
It was the New York Post. Yeah, they weren't very pleasant.
Shocking. That is shocking. No, because, he's made the Jets' life miserable for the last 24 years.
So let me ask you something. Would it have been better for the Dallas Packers game to be played at Lambeau in the freezing cold on Sunday? And it's going to be cold up there, single digits we're talking about. Or is it better for the Cowboys to play in their dome stadium in Dallas? So
I don't know. I kind of think that this young, fast Packers team, it'll be an advantage for them. Now, the fact is, Mike McCarthy's, this is like the best roster he's had, I think, since around 2017 when he was still with the Packers, until Aaron Rodgers went down about week 5 with a broken collarbone, thanks to a linebacker named Anthony Barr up in the Vikings stadium. Right now, I mean, he's got young, speedy receivers like CeeDee Lamb right now in the prime of his career, a couple of years into the league and experience. And Dak Prescott, he's got that quarterback now playing as a more mature, from the pocket kind of quarterback. He's got a kid named Micah Parsons in his 3rd or 4th year. It's a linebacker who lines up all over the field and is a tremendous pass rusher. So, McCarthy's got a really good team. He's won 12 games in a row. That's actually a new 12 games for the season. He's done that now for 3 seasons. That's kind of a new head coaching record for the Cowboys. But they've won 16 games in a row now in Dallas, the Cowboys have, at home. So they're tough at home as well, and they scored 30 points. I think if the Packers, if they just keep up with these guys until about the 4th quarter or so and maybe get a turnover, that would help them. But, it's a young Packers team that showed a lot of promise, but, the Cowboys are a very classy team.
We got less than a minute. We got the Bucks on Saturday on WRJN hosting the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, last night they had this big game against the Celtics. They blew them out by halftime, and the Celtics benched all their starters. They just said, you know what, we're 30 points behind. What's the point? So people who are expecting this clash between the 2 top teams of the Eastern Conference Instead, they watched this blowout where they even benched Drew Holiday and all the Celtics starter for the second half. So, what a weird game. 135 to 102, the Bucks winning last night over the Celtics.
And again, we've got the Bucks playing the Warriors 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night, and we've got the Badgers men's basketball Saturday afternoon. But we got the game pregame starting, I guess, against Northwestern at 10 a.m. on Saturday.
10 a.m. Yeah.
Breakfast with the Badgers.
All day long.
Yeah, they get sports all day long. Hey, my friend, you're sounding great. I'm glad the cold is leaving you with the cough, the sniveling, the stuffy nose, and you work through it. What a trooper, working right through that. Didn't let him bother at all. That's a real radio trooper.
I would suggest buying stock in Kleenex.
Or Puffs with lotion. That's even better.
With Puffs, yeah.
Hey, Mike Clemens, stay well. Take care of yourself up in Green Bay and drive carefully, all right, my friend?
Have a great weekend, Don.
You too. Mike Clemens from Civic Media, WRJN Radio, watching the sports for us. I'm Don Rosen. Excuse me. Maybe I need to go to bed. I'm Don Rosen. I'll catch you Monday morning once again, 6 a.m. bright and early right here at Hometown Radio Refreshed, WRJN. Please drive carefully. Don't tailgate. Don't speed. We need you here. Be safe, all right?